In this video we are going to add some damage to our towers so that we can start doing some damage to our monsters and reduce the monster's health bar. So the first thing we have to do is to add some collision to our projectiles. So try to open up the projectile script and go all the way to the bottom here. Down here we will have to add a function called onTriggerEnter, which is triggered when two trigger colliders are colliding, or one trigger colliding is colliding with the other. So we can make a private void and we can call it onTriggerEnter2D. Exactly the same thing I think we did for the portals, and it's collider2D and we're going to call it other. Okay, so this is our collider function. So first of all we need to check if we hit something, right? So if other.tag, if we hit that tag is a monster, then we do something. Let's just try to test this before we go further. So debug.log, and let's say I just hit a monster. There we go. So if we save this and jump into Unity and make sure that our monsters has that tag on, open prefab, go to monsters and check they have a monster tag here, and that's exactly the tag that we are looking for right here. And the projectile has this function on it, or this on it. Let's just check our projectile right now. If we go to prefabs and go to projectiles, we'll see that the projectile just has a sprite renderer and a projectile prefab, right? Not projectile prefab, projectile script. And actually we need to add something to our projectiles. We need to add a collider so that they're able to trigger this code and collide with stuff, right? So we have to select all our projectiles, add component, and write collider. We need box collider 2D, and yeah, that's actually it right now. And make sure it's a trigger. So set the trigger right here, because we're using onTriggerEnter. And if we don't set it as a trigger, well, then onTriggerEnter is not going to trigger. Okay. Besides that, well, if we look at our monsters here, let's see, they already have a box collider on them, so we don't need to add something. I just needed to check. Okay, let's try to save the script in here and jump to Unity, and let's try to see what happens when we actually start playing the game and starts to spawn a wave. So if we set a tower here and spawn a wave, we'll see in the console I just hit a monster, right? So we have some kind of indication to trigger whenever we hit a monster. Okay. So right now, as you saw before, our projectiles are simply just flying towards the monster. So it's flying towards the monster and they just get stuck there, right? Well, let's just remove those projectiles right away. So instead of writing I just hit a monster, we can write game manager.instance.pool.release object game object. So we are releasing our projectile game object from the game world, so releasing it to the pool, and it should disappear then because we already wrote all the code for removing it from the game world. So let's try, see what happens. And there we go. Now you can see our projectiles are disappearing when they hit the monster. Okay, so our monsters here, actually let's do the health first, or the damage first. If we go to our tower, we can go all the way to the top here and we can create a private integer called damage. So this is our damage. I think I want to put it as an integer. Let's see what I wrote in the notes. Give me 1 second. Yeah, of course, we're going to use an integer, and we need to be able to return this. So you can right click, say quick action and encapsulate field, and then you should get this public integer damage property. We don't need to set the damage from anywhere else. We simply just need to get it so we can check how much damage we need to deal to a monster. And then we go up here to damage and serialize field. There we go. So because we want to set it from the inspector from now, right? So we can just set how much damage it needs to deal each tower. Maybe we're going to fix this later. Okay, so now the tower has some damage. Well, when we play the game right now, the monster has an empty health bar, as you can see when we run it, right? It gets depleted right away. So we need to set the health on our monsters. So if you go to the monster, go all the way to the top of the script, then we can add a new property, or new, what is it called? New field. Let's just make a private stat called health stat. Save this, and then down, actually let's just do like this. Let's serialize this field so we can set it in the inspector, and in awake I would like to say health stat dot initialize. There we go. And instead of health stat, maybe I'm going to rename it. Just click it, press F2 and write just health. That makes sense. So let's see, I think we have a spawn function here, yeah? And inside the spawn function we need to set the health of the monster. So we can say this dot health dot max value equals let's just say maybe 10 from the get-go, and this dot health dot current value equals 10. Actually we can just say this dot health equals this dot health dot max value. So we just set it to the same no matter what. So we're going to change that at some point so that we set it from the game manager, but for now it's just for testing, because we need to increase it every time a monster spawns, right? Every wave I would like to increase the health, but I think I'm going to do that in the next video. So we just need to test if stuff works now. Oh, you know what, let's just set it up already. We can say in spawn, in here we say integer health, so we take in some health when we spawn the monsters, and the max value is equal to health, and then we save this, and then it's going to complain saying that, well, we don't have anything called health here. Well, let's go up to the top of the game manager somewhere. It's a little messy up here. Make a private integer called health. So this is the health each monster will have, right? So let's see, we can go down here and use that health in the spawn to pass it on. And then I want to say, well, do we have something called wave? Yes, we do. So if our wave modulus free equals 0. So every third wave we say health plus equals 5. So the health will be increased every third wave. So the waves will get harder and harder. So this could also be implemented in some kind of difficulty. So this number here could be higher if it's on hard and low if it's on easy, for example. So we need to set the health to a value from the get-go. Let's just run with 15. There we go. So all monsters has 15 health from the get-go. So if we go to monster here, we are setting the health when we spawn it. So we're sure we have something, and we made sure to initialize the health here when we are waking. But we don't have a reference to our health right now. So we need to go back to Unity, select our monsters here, you can take the blue monster and drag it in and click on it, and if we look at the monster here, you will see something called health. Max value is not set, current value is not set. We're doing that from the script, but the bar here is not set either. We need to take the health canvas here, sorry, not the health canvas, the bar, and drag it onto the spot so the monster has a reference to its own health bar, and then drag the blue monster down here again. Do the same for the green monster, click it and drag in, and purple monster, drag it in, select it and drag the bar over, and the red monster, we need to do the exact same thing, and there we go. And then just replace the prefabs down there So you have the newest monster. There we go. So now all our monsters should have a bar script on them that is set, as you can see here. Okay. Well, let's try to run this and see if it even works. Press next wave, and I get a null reference right away. Let's see what that is. So we are getting an error on the value text, and that's because our health bar doesn't have a text on it. So these two lines of code actually needs to be removed. So the value inside the bar script, the value property only has the fill amount in it. Okay. If you can't find the line, you can go to the Unity and play it, and then double click on the arrow, and it will guide you right here. Okay. So let's try one more time. If we clear this and stop playing. And let's try to run it again and see if something else is wrong. I think I forgot to save. Remember to save, yeah. And go back, clear again, and go. See, and now my monster has full health. So the health pool is working. It seems he has 15 health, and everything looks fine. So now we need to damage him. So let's see if we can fit that in this video as well. So if we go to the projectile, here we are releasing the monster, like the projectile object. So before we release it, this is the last thing we need to do. We will also add some animation at some point and remove this line of code and add it somewhere else. But for now, this is totally fine. So let's see. We need to say monster target. So this is our target, right? Don't we have that already? Maybe. Have a target. Okay. Or actually it's just a monster hit info, and it's equal to other.getComponent monster. Actually, there's something I haven't thought about. Let's say that it wants to hit one monster, but it passes through another monster on the way. Well, then it's going to hit that monster instead, right? So I need to check if other that I just hit is actually the monster that I have on target. So if target dot game object equals other dot game object. If that's the case, if my target is the same as whatever I hit, then I would like to run this code here. And then I would like to say, I already have my target, so target dot take damage. So my target needs to take some damage, right? I can go to my monster, and in here I can create a new function. Let's go to the bottom here and make a new public void take damage int damage. We're going to make a take damage function. And inside that function, we are simply going to make sure that the monster takes damage. The reason that we create a function instead of just reducing the health out here, because there's going to be a lot more functionality here. We are going to increase damage taken, or check if we are taking damage from the right damage source and stuff like that. So for now, we can simply say health minus equal, health dot current value minus equal damage. And before this, we can simply check if our monster is active. So if our monster is active, then we try to take some damage. And we're not going to kill him yet. We will do that when we add an animation. Maybe that's the next video. But yeah, for now, let's just reduce the health and see what actually happens here. Because I think that's it. Let's give it a try and see. Play the game. Oh, I wrote something wrong here. Yeah. Of course, we need to call it, so target dot take damage. Then we need to take parent dot damage. Okay, so this is our target, and we just added a take damage function. Our parent here is the tower that this projectile comes from, and inside the tower we just created some damage that will be returned from this property here, so that we can go to our projectile and say, well, my parent has some damage, so I'm going to apply that damage to the target by using the take damage function. And then of course let's just go to Unity and go to towers, select all these and make sure that they have some damage here. Let's just say they all do 5 damage at the moment. That's 3 hits for dying. We're going to adjust this so all the towers are different later. So let's see. And there we go. So let's try to run this, and what now? Didn't save again. There we go. And play again. Let's try if we put this tower here. Let's see what happens when it hits the monster. And the monster just got health reduced. And if it got hit one more time, it would die. Let's just try with 2 towers here, then it will die. Oh, it will not die, but the health bar will be depleted totally. We are not killing it yet, but let's just see the health bar go to 0. And there we go, now he's dead. So that's what I wanted to do in this video. It took a little longer than I wanted to because we had a few things we needed to add. In the next video I guess we should be adding the damage animation and the die animation for the monster. So thank you very much for watching, and remember that InScope Studios is a community found page, so all your support is very important to me. Support me in different ways. You can go to my Twitter page and follow me there. You can like my Facebook page and subscribe to this channel. If you want to support a little more, you can also support me by supporting me on Patreon. If you do so, then you'll be able to download all assets and all projects and everything I've created for this YouTube channel. Or you can go to my page on the bottom link here just to get one of the projects as a standalone product. So thank you very much for watching.